We're not seeking a comprehensive free trade agreement with China.
Mark Carney finally speaks. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today, Mark Carney back in Parliament. He gets questioned coming down the stairs and finally breaks his silence here. It's been more than a week and a half since he's even talked to the press. He canceled his press conference, constantly running away from the press. Doesn't want to be grilled on his massive failures in Canada, attacking Donald Trump, and now Trump coming back at him. We don't know if this is all planned. Is Trump using this as a negotiating chip for CUSMA? And now we've got Trump saying that Canada has been completely taken over by China. Let's jump into this. Mark Nixon sharing this one. Carney to spend much of 2026 traveling the world in search of trade. That's right. He doesn't want to be grilled in Parliament, so he's just going to fly around on the gas-guzzling jet. And then he's going to virtue signal about how you should be living a certain way of life, cutting down the amount of heat you use, your carbon footprint, while he gallivants around the world. And we've got this one here. Carney heading to India. Is Carney planning his next trip there? Well, Carney government has indicated it's looking at a restart of relations with India to become its next big trading partner. That's right. We're going to start trading with another country far on the opposite side of the world. And we should, but there's no way we can replace or trade with America. It's just not going to happen. With that, we've got Bruce Anderson posting some polling data here. Approval of Carney government rises to 64%. 78% believe arrangement with China on canola and cars was the right thing to do. This is the latest sizzling data coming from Spark Advocacy. Now, who's Spark Advocacy and Bruce Anderson? Turns out most people don't realize. I posted a reply here when announcing polling data. I think you should be required to disclose your connections to a political party, in this case, the Liberal Party. And well, that's what we have here. Bruce Anderson, this section is currently removed from my public chart, but I will be putting it back on there. But Bruce Anderson heads up Spark Advocacy and National News Watch, and his daughter is Kate Purchase. Kate Purchase was the Director of Communications for Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. As I've pulled it right off of this McLean's article. Once again, I have the receipts there. You don't have to trust me. It's right here. So Kate Purchase, Center Block Office, as Communications Director in Justin Trudeau's PMO. It was her job to make her boss look good. And further down in this article, it says here, Purchase's father is economist Bjorn Purchase, but her mother's remarriage to pollster Bruce Anderson inducted her as a baby into a storied family of political strategists and commentators. Anderson is the chairman of Abacus Data and a past member of the CBC at Issue Panel. He left the high-profile at Gig Issue, citing conflict of interest when Kate took up her job in the PMO. So not her biological father, but basically is one of her fathers. So with all this talk of Mark Carney flying around getting trade deals, well, Reclamaire posting this one, Carney made a trade deal with Indonesia that exempts them from Buy Canadian. They'll expect to be lowballed by a country that pays $1.10 hourly wage. Yeah, this is a great point. Expanding our trade with Indonesia is not going to change really anything. It's all virtue signaling. It's all posturing by Mark Carney and the Liberals. Here we have Mark Carney finally answering some questions. Listen to how much he mumbles and bumbles and stumbles around here trying to answer these.
How are you responding to Trump's threats about 100% tariffs?
Well, the first thing is that, Canada respects our engagements, our commitments.
Il
y a des engagements dans l'ACM. We have commitments under CUSMA that not to pursue free trade agreements with non-market economies without prior notification. We have no intention of doing that with China or any other non-market economy. What we've done with China is to rectify some issues that developed in the last couple of years. In many respects, we're going to use the expression back to the future with respect to EVs, with respect to agriculture, with respect to fish products and other food products, but with additional protections. So for example, back in 2023, we didn't have a cap on the number of EVs. We didn't have a requirement for a large proportion of those EVs to be affordable, highly affordable EVs for Canadians. So it's entirely consistent with CUSMA, with our obligations, which we very much respect under CUSMA and will continue to work that way forward.
That is not true. He just lied. Once again, here is one of his posts, him saying, we've secured a new trade agreement with China, unlocking more than $7 billion in export markets for Canadian workers and businesses. He said this is a new trade agreement. What, so now it's not a trade agreement because he got called out by Donald Trump for violating the CUSMA agreement? This guy's a chronic liar. That's all he does is lies.
Affordability. Your actions and recent statements seem to have angered Donald Trump, who now calls you governor, who says we'll have 100% tariffs on Canada. How will this make the task? Didn't you just mortgage Canadian affordability by standing up to Americans? No. First point.
No, first point. That's his first point, everyone.
And as for affordability, the impact of American tariffs,
Sur la volabilité américaine.
well, it'll be on American affordability, not Canadian affordability. With Canadian affordability, we are protecting
Le filet social.
the social nets, dental care, child care,
National pour des enfants.
food program for school.
On a
There are many.
déjà réduit les
We have already
Et
reduced
il y aura
income taxes, and there will be other measures that will be significant in coming days.
This guy is on something else. He's saying America's going to have to pay for this. Don't worry, it's not Canadian workers. This is a very misleading statement because he knows full well that, yeah, tariffs are a tax on its own country. Trump puts on 100% tariffs on Canada. American buyers will be paying for that, and then they'll pass that along to the consumers, increasing the price in America. But those buyers will stop buying that stuff from Canada because it's too expensive, and then Canadian business will shut down and move to America. That's Trump's strategy here. He's trying to get as many companies to move over before his own citizens get pissed off at him for the prices of things going up in America. It's a tricky strategy. We're going to find out if this really works or not, as they are bringing in a bunch of tariff money and he is handing out some of that. For Carney to say that doesn't affect us, it affects us in a much worse way. We just lose a bunch of companies and jobs and thus money coming into the government. And what's he going to do? Just print more money, devalues all of Canadian tax dollars so we end up poorer and increases inflation. This guy knows full well what he's doing. He's Mr. Banker. He's not a dumb man. He's a very smart man that is using Canada as his personal little piggy bank. And here we've got Cody Blois pushing back on that same point that this isn't a trade agreement, even though Mark Carney posted this himself saying we've secured a new trade agreement with China. It's not a trade agreement.
And just one thing I would like to say is I think it's important for Canadians to understand, and I think Mr. Miller and others have been very clear. We're not seeking a comprehensive free trade agreement with China. That was never on the table. We've come to a trade arrangement where we're able to reduce tariffs.
Oh, it's a trade arrangement now. Thanks, Mr. Agriculture Minister. These guys will use whatever language they want to try to make it seem like they're getting something more than they're really getting. They just keep lying to Canadians.
It's certainly matter for Canadian industry, Canadian farmers, seafood industry. At the same time, find a pathway for investment in the auto sector in Canada. And I think it's important. I'm going to pull off my glove here. Can you hold my copies? Thank you very much. I do think it's important for Canadians to understand. I was looking this morning, actually. Here's a press release from the White House on November 1st, and it reads, President Trump strikes a deal on economic and trade relationships with China. That came out of APEC. So what we have done as a government is consistent with what the United States has done with China, which is find a pathway to create market access for, in their case, it was American soy farmers and agricultural producers, and obviously find a pathway. They're selling AI chips to China. So they found a pathway, not on a free comprehensive trade deal, but just on certain arrangements to reduce tariffs. We're following the same path. We're following the Canadian interest, and we think it's the right pathway.
So this argument here that, well, America did it, then we can do it. Well, once again, we don't have the leverage, so we don't get to call the shots. And that's because the Liberals have removed our ability to have any leverage. Second off, America holds more leverage over China, and that's why they can do that. They have the biggest economy on earth. That's why they're able to use their leverage against China. We don't have leverage against China, and we don't have leverage against America. This will just end to more Canadians losing their jobs. And finally, them walking into the caucus meeting. Why do they applaud him? Nobody knows. You can see his dirt ball here, Michael Ma, big greasy grin. And Chris D'Entremont, these rats right at the front. You notice too, when Carney walks up here, it's like he waves his hand at security or something, like, open the doors. What is that? This guy thinks he's a king or something. All theater pathetic and embarrassing. Theater performance. I have zero in common with them. Yep. Trump, he's now come out with this on Truth Social. China is successfully and completely taking over the once great country of Canada. So sad to see it happen. I only hope they leave ice hockey alone, President Donald J. Trump. And that's not the only one. He also came out with this one. A must watch. Canada is systemically destroying itself. The China deal is a disaster for them. Will go down as one of the worst deals of any kind in history. All of their businesses are moving to the USA. I want to see Canada survive and thrive, President Donald J. Trump. So first, we'll just play a bit of this clip that he shared.
Regions. Canada's market alone is too small to justify large-scale manufacturing. The future of Canada's auto industry and the hundreds of thousands of jobs that it supports depends on securing our trade relationship with the United States. The federal government's decision to open the Canadian market to Chinese EVs is deeply concerning. The Canada-China strategic partnership has the potential to undermine Canada's auto sector and presents risk to the future of our integrated North American automotive supply chain. As the Premier has outlined, it is critical that the federal government rectifies this situation by taking immediate action to bolster the competitiveness of the very companies that have been building cars and employing Canadians for over 100 years.
This is really blowing up here. And now the question is Donald Trump just trying to help fearmonger so Carney gets a majority? Are they working on this together? Is something going on in Qatar? Is Donald Trump just using this as leverage in the CUSMA renegotiations? And there's not anything more going on regarding this relationship here between his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, Mark Carney, all these ties. I don't know. I gave it a 50-50 chance before, and I'm still sitting on the middle here. I don't know exactly what's going on. If they're really tied, their body language, you got to remember when Carney met Trump, seemed very off. It seemed like these guys knew each other for a long time. It didn't seem like they're meeting each other for the first time. And of course, liberals are already having a meltdown over this. And now what are they doing? They're leaning more towards China. They're backing China. Oh, China's okay. Don't worry about their human rights violations.
Prime Minister Carney went to China, came back, dropped some industry-specific tariffs on Chinese goods. And we have a highly integrated market with Canada, sometimes in autos, which he dropped the EV tariff, I believe, from 100% to 6%. The goods can cross the border during the manufacturing process 6 times. And we can't let Canada become an opening that the Chinese pour their cheap goods into the U.S. We have a USMCA agreement, but based on that, which is going to be renegotiated this summer, and I'm not sure what Prime Minister Carney is doing here, other than trying to virtue signal to his globalist friends at Davos. I don't think he's doing the best job for the Canadian people.
No, he's not. He's doing what's best for himself. Look at this comment here. This is from an American saying, it's clear what he's doing. He's looking for a replacement for America. We can't let our northern border become a Chinese colony. We also have stuff like this. Man calls out Mark Carney and Brampton for supplying ICE with these heavily armored vehicles. This vehicle was built in Brampton, Ontario, Canada. Mark Carney, we hold you and the Canadian government complicit for supplying ICE with equipment they use to, I'm not going to read that out, but this is ridiculous. This is a Canadian company just building vehicles, and it turns out America wants to buy them, then America can buy them. Of course, leftist guys like this, no logic whatsoever.
We're going to continue to pursue on the mandate that we were given by the Canadian electorate, which is to build this country, to build our capacity to trade with the world, to diversify our trading arrangements, including those with the United States when that is possible to be achieved.
Does it make it difficult to achieve those priorities when Donald Trump will tweet out threats against Canada?
We believe we have a strong mandate from the Canadian people. We're going to continue pursuing that mandate, and we'll have a lot of legislation, a lot of initiatives, a lot of things to propose to Canadians in this upcoming session.
A strong mandate. They don't have a majority mandate. And he said a lot of legislation. They've passed one bill. That's the C5, the one that goes around all the other liberal laws. Delusional liar. No mandate was given to drop your pants for China and totally abandon our 159-year relationship with our protector, the U.S. And we've got Sean failing forward Fraser giving his 2 cents on this.
Should Canadians be about Trump's threat of 100% tariffs, in your view?
Look, I find that we've seen a number of different comments coming out of the president's office over the last number of months, and it doesn't necessarily change the strategy that we need to put in place. Canadians have woken up to the reality that we need to work on the measures that are going to allow us to succeed at home, despite whatever uncertainty may exist in the global economy. The world.
And why is that, Sean? Why is that? What reality is this? That the fact that your party with Justin Trudeau, this guy there for years, helped destroy our country, run it into the ground. There's no business case for these energy projects, except there is a business case, and now it's costing us billions of dollars.
Has changed significantly, and Canadians should be able to put some faith that we have the tools here at home that we need to succeed. It's going to require us to make some pretty big changes when it comes to how we get big things done here, and it's going to require us to resolutely pursue opportunities with countries all over the world to make sure that the goods that we produce here in Canada will be able to find markets that create good paying jobs at home.
This guy knows full well there's no way we're going to stick all these goods on ships and ship them all over the place to Qatar and India and all these places all on the other side of the world. Sure, we'll be doing some of that, but it's not to the point of 77% of our trade with America. I don't even think it is possible to replace the USA. No other country is going to buy 70% of our products. That's the truth of it. We might be able to get that down to 50 or 40% if that's all we were focusing on. And we don't have the infrastructure. We can't even get pipelines built at home. That's the truth there. Meanwhile, today, if you look at the value of our pipelines, they're going up dramatically with everything that's going on in the world. The New World Order, formerly known as the One World Order, is done. Europe won't buy 80% of our goods. I didn't just wake up to this. Pierre Poilievre has been saying we need to build at home for years. Now, in response to all this too, we've seen a car company called Chery out of China that wants to build cars in Canada. Kirk posting this one. It's a Chinese EV. It says it's absolutely over for the Canada's auto industry. This Chinese EV manufacturer Chery, which wants to open shop in Canada, and this is one of their cars, absolute luxury, huge interior screens, 180 kilometers on pure electric, and then over 600 to 800 kilometers. So this is in fact true. We got this in the Globe and Mail. Chinese car maker Chery eyes expansion, and basically they want to just bring in automation. They don't want to hire a lot of Canadians. They're just going to bring all their robots in from China to build cars in Canada. I didn't see this coming. Globe and Mail spoke to 3 people with extensive experience in the Canadian auto industry, and they all have recently been contacted on LinkedIn by recruiters who say they are working on behalf of Chery. Key roles would include sales operation. Messages also, Chery will open office in Toronto area. So let's look at this vehicle here.
Chery has opened a new chapter in its journey with the official debut of the 2026 Chery Fullwind T11. The Fullwind T11 showcases the brand's latest design philosophy, which the company says is inspired by the Forbidden City's Hall of Supreme Harmony. Measuring 5,150 millimeters in length with a wheelbase of 3,120 millimeters, it provides dimension, a massive.
So basically got a giant screen here, and crystal rotating knobs here,
and a storage
compartment,
and massage functions.
Massage function. Interesting. So these guys want to start making cars in Canada. Canadian market is too small without the US to justify building a major auto plant. That is a great point. 80% of vehicles built in Canada are sold in America. It's too costly to put them on a ship and send them over to Europe or back to Asia. So what is going to happen here? They're going to try to sell all these to Canada? I don't see this working.